That's what I would tell the men of today. If they were my sons, you're doing a good job. You're not always failing. You don't always suck. We're not always looking to beat you up. I know it feels like you're punching bag for a lot of different things. I know it feels like you cannot make it, that there's no standard that you're always going to score. I know you get frustrated, and I know you'll cry. You cry when we don't see it. You have to, man up. And I am saying to you as a mom, as a older female, and I'm saying to you that you're doing way better than you could ever possibly imagine.
Let's get it. Welcome to the Dear Son Show. We have meaningful conversations about life through the lens of fatherhood, typically, but March is Women's History Month. So we have an amazing woman on the show, Sara Connor. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good, and the crowd goes wild.
And you just got quiet.
I just got quiet?
Yeah, you just got quiet. Come on, let's get that same energy back. How you feeling?
How am I feeling? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. No, I'm feeling good. It's Women's History Month, and we have a lot to celebrate and a lot to be grateful for, and lots of more progress to make, but absolutely feeling good. Yes.
Yeah, I'm grateful for all the women in my life, so it would behoove me to have conversations with women because the perspective is important.
Yes. Absolutely.
So this doesn't abandon like the baseline of the show. I'll be speaking from a fatherhood perspective. You'll be speaking from perspectives that we'll understand as the conversation goes on. But where you from?
I'm from Kingston, Jamaica.
Really now?
Yes, born and raised, yaddy up. That's what we say, yaddy.
My wife is so proud of me because I think I'm Jamaican.
Oh, that's what that is.
And I can't do it with somebody that's really Jamaican because then I sound fake.
No, let's get your best one. No, let's get your best one though.
No.
We say wagwan.
Wagwan.
Hey, wagwan.
I told you I'm from y'all.
Adopted.
I told you I'm from y'all. I'm from Duns River.
Oh, you're from Duns River?
Yeah.
And Duns River, Oterias area, St. Anne. Yes,
right.
Man.
Down the road,
you sound exactly like that.
Down the road, down the way.
No.
What was life like in Jamaica?
Jamaica, life was really, for me, very, very polarizing because I'm from a famous or very popular family in Jamaica. My father's in music.
Okay. He
was one of the road managers that worked with Bob Marley. So we grew up in a lot of entertainment and music. Rastafarian children. So on that one hand, and then on the other side, my mom was from a very strong entrepreneurial family where it's lots of chains. Kisco was a very big brand for popsicles.
Okay.
Fontana Pharmacy, things like that. My uncle has Western Sports. So very Rastafarian, entrepreneurial. And then grew up, went to a private school when my parents had divorced, but also had a lot of trauma within that because my dad was in music, so he was not very available. And as you know, with entertainers, on holidays is when they entertain other families.
Right.
So whether it's Mother's Day, Christmas, they're always gone. So those kind of things, graduations, they may not be at present at and things like that. My mom was a smart, beautiful entrepreneurial woman, but she did struggle with drug addiction. So for many, many years of my life dealing with a crack addicted mom. And that, of course, takes a lot. And then when I was a teenager, she was murdered. So she was stabbed to death when I was a teenager. So there's a lot of that. And in between that, we have a lot of sexual assault and abuse that happened from friends, people down the street, just a lot of different things happen because, again, your parents are not there. My mom is, on drugs and she's in and out, right?
How long were they together in the same house?
12 years. Okay. About 12 years.
How much of that do you remember?
I remember a good amount because, again, the parts I remember is going to the concerts and being taken backstage and in studios, listening to them do new music and represent. So my mom was, I think, the second female producer out of Jamaica ever. And so
she was in music too?
She was in music too.
Okay.
So they both had a company called Talent Corporation and they just did a lot of good work together. And even after they were divorced, lots of honor and recognition in that. So we have 4 moms.
Say more.
Say, right? 4 moms and 7 children.
Okay.
Okay, so same dad, but 4 moms and 7 children.
Okay.
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 And yet everybody gets along.
Really?
Incredibly so. So I'll give you an example. When my mom had passed, she did not leave a will. But my sister's mom, who was an attorney, took her about 7 or so years to fight for our inheritance that had nothing to do with her and nothing to do with my sister.
Yeah.
And yet she did that at no cost, just because. That's when we're talking about men and how they show up even for the women that were involved in their lives. If my dad did not show up the way he did with my sister's mom, the generosity and stuff, I don't know that it would have been present. It would have been so divisive and divided. And yet she took 7 years of her life to fight for that for us.
That's an interesting perspective in a lot of ways, because on the surface, one would assume that there's the typical catfighting if a family has that many components.
Correct. And no. So I'll give you another example. Last year, October is my mom's birthday.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
What day?
October 13.
Oh, my mom's in 27.
Oh, okay. October babies. And my dad held a birthday party for my mom, who is not alive, with my stepmom present.
Wow.
And friends from my mom's era. It was a small event.
Yeah.
And what did my stepmom and my dad do? They went to my mom's grave, visited it, made sure it was clean. This is my stepmom.
Yeah.
With my mom. And they knew each other before she passed. So I'm saying to you, we went to a thing in Christmas, and my oldest sister's mom, my oldest sister passed when she was about 40 years old, giving birth to her last child. And all of us were there in Florida in Christmas, and there are pictures and everything with everyone. We get along just fine. So nobody is a half sibling or a half anything, because we're all one. We have the same dad, but we're very, very supportive of each other. And it's something to be studied. And I've always wondered what it was, but it's actually my dad and the rules and ways that he put in for the next person coming in, the kind of presence that he showed, and say, no, this is, my kids were here first. And so you're coming into my ecosystem. They're not going to just, you were there. It's a very, very, very different from what I see here. Extremely different from what I see here often.
Let's talk about the character of your father, because that sounds like the through line of why the structure was there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How would you describe his character?
Generous. Generous would be the first thing. Even if he's not responsible for your dreams, he's very supportive. And he takes personal interest and is committed to it. So I had a dream. I cannot sing. Okay, again, we're from a musical family. I have zero talent in that area.
Okay.
But I wanted to sing.
Okay,
so I want to sing. I wanted an album. My younger sister has an album. My dad has albums. My stepmom is a singer. All these things. My brother plays instruments. My other brother manages. I do nothing that way. And so I just said, Daddy, I want to have an album. Do you know that I have a listed album signed with a record deal? You better look it up. It's a spoken album. It's called No.
Okay.
And I'm signed with Island Records.
Island Records.
Yes. And it's on everything. Tidal, everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's because I said it out my mouth. My dad went to bat for it.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about generous, he's a person he does a lot of outreach, a lot of work, but he is generous in terms of lending of himself and being available. So his message that he wanted to make sure was that none of his children did not know his presence. So even though he was working and he was away making income and doing the things that he had to do as a musician, he's very, very tied into all the grandchildren and everyone. So all the women get along because he respects them.
You got really interesting really quick. I mean, within the first 45 seconds, you kind of laid out a lot to a lot of threads to pull.
For real.
I want to pull a few
to
the extent that you stop me.
All right.
How long did you spend in Jamaica?
21 years.
So all of your...
Yes, okay. I was born and raised in Jamaica.
So the challenges that you referenced in terms of abuse, I think that's how you framed it.
Yes.
How did that happen?
That would just happen because of not being supervised, So I think the first, I would say, incident would be you're playing hide and seek as children, play hide and seek, and you're playing with the neighbors and people in the neighborhood. And so, when they do those stay in the corner in the closet and doctor games and all those kind of things, 3 minutes in the closet. And it was an much older boy, and I was much younger. I was maybe, 7, 8. So you don't even know. Inside something is wrong, but you don't know what is wrong. Because you don't have those conversations where it's talking about your body and things. We weren't in church. We were Rastafarian children. So I don't have no idea or concept of shame either, because my parents, again, being as free, if you want to call it, we went on the beach and we didn't wear swimsuits and stuff on the beach as kids. It's a foreign concept to be putting your clothes on and your shoes on and all these kind of things. So I'm not saying that we were ignorant of it. I'm saying we were in a very communal culture.
Yeah.
But I am knowing that something's wrong. I just don't know what is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like up the street, I'm over at a girl's house and she's an older girl. And now she's fondling me and stuff. And I don't know, again, something's not right, but I don't know what it is. Because at that point, I'm not in puberty, right? So there's no turning on. There's none of that happening for me.
Right.
Well, I think for boys, it's much different. This is where one of the things I'm passionate about is men, and when they get molested, when they get abused, and they buy the trick because their anatomy biologically responds.
Right.
And so when it responds, then the predator can say to them, well, you wanted that because, you got erected or because your body responded. No, if you are an infant and you see that with little boys, their body biologically is just going to respond. Yeah. So even if they don't hit puberty or not, because they could not necessarily control the response of their body, then predators are able to confuse, shame, manipulate. Where a girl is different, because for us to have some kind of enjoyment, there has to be lubrication. But it doesn't mean that when we're fondled, we're lubricated.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think in that kind of molestation, starting out there, fondling, there's still abuses, but you may not be necessarily aware of what is happening to you, because for me as a female, there was no response to it.
Yeah.
Right. And then it continued and it just kept going on, and yeah. So
hopefully you hear this the way I'm asking it, in the spirit that I'm asking. Did it become normal at some point?
Yes. In terms of you become conditioned that is what you are. You are for the service of other people. So when you get into a relationship, you don't have sexual intimacy. You have sexual availability. You're not looking to get any pleasure because you don't know what pleasure is. You don't know what consideration is.
Yeah.
You don't know what mutual fulfillment is. You know to be taken from, not gifted to.
Is it a matter of deserving it or not even understanding that it's available to you?
I think it's just being conditioned into a role. So you don't think of yourself any worthy or not worthy, because you don't. For me personally, I did not understand worthiness until I became a Christian. I had been exposed to a lot of different gods, right? So my Jewish private school, of course, we were coming from in that school. My dad paid for my education. Mm-hmm. And so I was in that private school and we're doing Rosh Hashanah and, all of the different things from a Hebrew standpoint. Then we have my mom, right, who was Catholic, but also very into spiritualism, and she's Chinese. So we have Chinese Jamaican mythology. So we are reading things like the I Ching. I'm just showing you that there's a wide variety of gods. I go to a high school that is Anglican in base, right? So I'm hearing about this Jesus. I don't know who he is. Frankly, didn't care because I don't know who he is.
Right.
And then I had a best friend, her name Cheryl, who was into Baha'i. She was Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah was her god from Baha'i faith.
That's new to me.
Okay, that's new. Okay, so we have all these things. So there's nothing that is, for me, when I got born again, I ran away from home, and that it was in me running away from home that I got born again. And I got introduced to an unconditional loving God, not a performative God, not a God that expected something from me, but a God that did everything for me. And so it was then I began to learn I am worth the sacrifice. I am worth the stopping for. I am, that's when self-worth came. I think before that, I was just a tool and accepted that that's what's going to happen. This is not love. It's going to hurt. It's not care. It's going to look like abandonment. And this is, you just exist. And so I used to wish, because people would say, well, you look so, you're pretty or you're attractive. And I'd be like, I don't want to be. So I would just be thinking, do everything but that. Like, just make me not look like anything that a predator wants. Like, whatever that looks like, just undo it, undo this, because it had become so regulated. And it's very dangerous when you do have that, because you cannot always recognize then when you're actually in abuse. It's like a C-section. It's like a scar. And you touch on that scar tissue and you can't feel it quite until you go really deep, because it's numb to it. So much scarring has been on there that you see it, but you can't feel it until it goes to a different layer. And so sometimes I don't even recognize. I'm very naive to abuse because I've been so conditioned to it. I can't tell a lot of times if I'm being controlled or manipulated or used or intimidated. It becomes regular that I have to now overthink and really be way more cautious, because I'm more like that. I'm very naive, jumping in like, surely they wouldn't. Because I judge other people off, my intention and how I would do something often than how the world really works.
Wow. So you said you ran away. What age?
Around 13.
Around 13. So still in Jamaica.
Still in Jamaica.
How accepting or accommodating was your household to you finding a different faith?
Oh, no. My dad told me I was in a cult because they clapped hands in the church, that he was not helping me to do anything, that I'm not, I was now clubbing. I was smoking, by the way. By the time I was 13, I was clubbing and I was smoking. I looked so much older because I had lived so much longer. For example, when my mom was on crack, we lived in one of the worst ghettos in the world called Trenchtown.
Yeah.
And so we had very rich times and we had very poor times. So I did get a variety of times, to be true. But I ran away and they were not keen to it. But I had to have this God. So I walked miles and miles and miles in the dark to church. As a 13-year-old, I had to have this God. Yeah. This God was very different from the other gods, from Haile Selassie, which I was, raised in with Rasta, all the way to Baha'u'llah, to, all the things I was exposed to. And I was stubborn. I had to have him. So you could not stop me. So I put myself at risk a lot of times. But thank God for the church and the supports that they had and systems that they had in place to support people like me who did not have family support. Now, my entire family is born again. My stepmom only sings gospel music. My dad is known for his faith. He still has all his Rasta dreads. Our house was painted red, gold, and green for Rasta.
Yeah.
I mean, we were committed.
Wow. I'm trying not to fan out because I have an affinity, maybe that's too strong of a word, for Jamaican culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a bunch of just curious questions of like being exposed to Rastafarianism.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was, advantage is probably the wrong word, but I'm thinking through it in real time.
You can say advantage because it was.
Okay.
It was.
In terms of seeing a thing or being exposed to multiple different things before you deciding for yourself who God truly is, period, and who you claim him to be.
I believe I am grateful. And it's going to sound cold, right? But I am grateful I didn't grow up in the church. I really am.
I grew up in the church and I completely understand what you're saying.
And from the standpoint of, for Rastafarianism, my diet and how I manage my eating is from there. It's one of the best ways that you can govern your health. I am in impeccable health. Yeah. I am turning 53. That's where the crowd goes, no way. Okay, insert. Gotcha. Right? But I'm in impeccable health.
Yeah.
I don't wear glasses. I don't have hypertension, high blood pressure, even pre-diabetes. I don't have any inflammation in my colon. Nothing.
I feel attacked, by the way.
Okay. Well,
I'm just joking.
I'm saying. But I do credit that to the dietary being raised Rastafarian.
Yeah.
I think also one of the advantages was the community, being very communal and being very concerned about your next person, being okay with being dropped off somewhere with an auntie or something and you're going to be okay. I think the medicinal commitment to not just looking at medication, but really believing in nature, holistic, that's a very big component. And, we were growing marijuana in the back of our yard. We have family pictures with the marijuana plant in the picture. That's how committed we were. But a lot of that, I think, was advantageous to me. I think growing up in being a part of the Jewish private school was advantageous because I learned the Bible in a different way. Most ministers, speakers, pastors, preachers, people who go into ministry like myself do not have that background.
Yeah.
They're just being taught of something they were taught or something they were taught. But they never really had a Jewish perspective with the Eastern book that we study. They westernize it. And so a lot of idioms, a lot of things that are in there taken totally out of context because they don't have the background in it. It's just taught down, right? So I think that was a very big advantage for me to understand the festivals, to participate in them.
Shabbat.
Right. To understand Shabbat. Right. To understand and then to see economically an entirely different group of people and how they operated. That is very, very, very important. So though my parents were entrepreneurs and things like that, you're also in a school of people that are ambassadors' children, prime ministers' children. You're the top 1% in your country. A lot of them their children are in this school. American ambassadors, their children are in this school. You get a very elevated idea of possibility. Though I'm living in the ghetto, I'm coming up to this private school. So my mind doesn't get stuck. Here I go, one day, I am going to bring what's here.
Yeah.
So it makes, for me, it switched, it emboldened me to my commitment. And so I have always kept that. And within the last, I would say, maybe 9 years, I've been able to activate some of those commitments I made while in the ghetto going to a private school. So being exposed to those different faiths, what kept me, honestly, what got me caught with the Lord that I serve, Jesus, then and still now, was two things. One, the unconditional love. It wasn't a love I had to perform for. It was a love I could fail in.
Yeah.
And that was powerful to me. I could fail and he would not be surprised by my failure. Neither would he abandon me because of it. He would actually sacrifice himself to cover me for it.
Yeah.
So that unconditional love was incredibly necessary for me because I had been abused and it was something always taken and something always your fault. And he was saying, regardless of, my love has nothing to do with what you've done or didn't do. It has everything to do with what I choose to do for you. That was important. The second thing was, there is no other name that I have prayed in and miracles have happened. I have seen the blind eyes literally open, deaf ears open, cancers drop out of chests, legs grow, backaches fix, mysterious diseases disappear, brain tumors shrink, only in the name of Jesus.
Yeah.
And so for me, my conviction is sure because I have been exposed to those other gods. And yet I could not in the name of Buddha do it. And that's just my experience. So I am committed to this path of faith because experientially, I have never felt ever so worthy, ever so loved, and ever so honored to be a conduit to help other people get healed.
You seem very sure of yourself, all things considered.
All things considered.
No,
for real. I'm thinking what you're saying.
Given what you've walked and I know we don't know much in the last 20 minutes we've been talking. I don't know much yet. how much other work had to be done, right? You came into the knowing and acceptance of what I believe is the true and living God, and that's been an impact in your life. How much other work had to be done to arrive?
God is so good. God, though we don't remember this, God doesn't just hear the prayers of Christians.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Yeah. For you to get born again, you weren't a Christian before you got born again. When you prayed, you were in a state of sin while you were praying, and then you committed your life to Jesus, and now you all became bonded, and bam, bam, bam. I am saying the poor, the needy, God hears prayers.
Yeah.
And God is working even when you're not connected to him. We see this over and over, how he sent people or through the Bible to go witness.
Yeah.
So he's always having, I think I wanted to say it like this. With the story when Jesus says to Peter, hey, you need to go and get the money out of the fish. You pay the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that fish is not necessarily common there. That fish had to go to a route to come over there. The ravens had to change up their route to come feed Elijah. They eat the meat. They don't give it to you, right? So throughout time, the work, God puts people in the timeline of your life. For every trauma that has happened to you, he's put somebody else in there. You just don't notice it. So while I'm going through this situation running away, I'm failing school. I'm smart, but I'm failing. I have no purpose. I have no sense of well-being, right? I'm failing. There is a teacher at that same time named Mrs. Bean, who I'm supposed to not go to the next grade because I'm failing. And she advocates and says, that girl is smart. She says, let's put her in a smart people class. I know. How did they have the smart people class, child? They had a whole system. Let's put her in a class that was ranking highest. I'm thinking about it now. We shouldn't have done that. But anyway, that class is ranking highest. And she advocates for me, not knowing I'm going to be born again that summer. I get pushed in there and I go, oh, I'm not going to be at the back of the class. No, I don't mind being low, but I am not going to be last here.
Yeah.
I get born again, get the sense of purpose and begin to excel. So every time that when I ran away from home, my small group leader, Mrs. Moore, the different abuses I had, I went and lived with her. She had me come and live with her. She loved on me. She was present. My mom was on crack. She was absent. But she was here. Do you know that when my mom was getting born again, she overdosed on drugs, cut her hand, and bled out, collapsed, was rushed to the hospital. And I said to her, I and these other children are not going to speak to you unless you meet with my pastor, because you need to get born again. I lead my mom to the Lord, say the prayer with her. And my small group leader takes my crack-addicted mom into the same house that I'm with her, dries her out. Within 2 years, my mom becomes a Jamaican millionaire before she was murdered. Because on the timeline of every trauma, he has people governing. He has people inserting. You may not see them, but there's an auntie, there's an uncle, there's somebody that has shown you favor. There's somebody that's given you kindness along the way. And that is to try and help you not lose your mind.
Yeah.
But because you don't know him, you can't recognize it. So the abandonment, the rejection, the abuses, the shame, those things take more identity than the fact that even along that, he has people in the shadows still holding you up. So how did I get through this? People showing up that that cared for me, that said, man, this girl is a wild child, but we gonna just take a risk on her. Then I did therapy after, well, not as a child, but as an adult, once I knew that I could.
Yeah.
Then I went and did that. I am very honest with God. I think that's one of the things. If I'm angry, I say, I think this sucks. I tell him, pick somebody else. I didn't sign up for all of this. Pick somebody else. Somebody else wants to go through this, but it's not me. I'm unwilling. That kind of transparency with God. I am not of the belief that you can't question God.
How do you learn?
Because...
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying, how else do you...
But how did you learn? Yeah. Because for me, I think, again, not being indoctrinated that I couldn't ask God questions. I asked him. When my mom was murdered, I wasn't happy about that. When people get angry with God, go be angry. Go talk to him and tell him, Jonah was angry.
What was the process of Is it possible to let go of those traumas? Because I don't want to lead and assume that I know.
Here's what I think. Here's what I know. Your brain has neuroplasticity. It has a reticular activating system, and you can retrain your brain from being stuck in those traumas. So do I think you'll forget those traumas? Not necessarily.
Right.
But I do think that you may have evidence of those traumas, but I do think you can get through those traumas. So I personally believe that getting over doesn't mean that it didn't impact you. It means it doesn't stop you. I think you learn to categorize them. I think you learn to move in spite of them. I think you learn to move with them.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing of getting over, to me, looks like you're not identified by them. You realize them as a portion of your timeline, but not the entirety of it. And you realize that along the way that you'll have that. Is it devastating? Yes. Is it tragic? Yes. Will it have an impact physically on your brain? Yes. But your brain is such a dynamic part of you that the places that are trauma, you can actually build it up to where there's more purpose for that pain versus just making it keep you stuck and stagnated.
Yeah.
Am I over or through my mom being murdered? Can I still smell the blood that was on the floor that I had to clean up? Yes. 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 So are there things, do I want to go into a place like that would have a lot of that smell? No. Is there perfume that she had that would trigger me? Yes. Have I gone into the airports and randomly followed an Asian woman that smelled like her and realized I'm at the wrong gate because I just followed without being aware I was following? Yes. But there are also times I've learned to manage trauma is put a timeline on it. When I feel the overwhelm, when I feel the grief, I put my phone on a timer. And I give my emotions space. They're like 2-year-olds that just need a playpen. And if I let them run me ragged, I'm going to be depressed and frustrated the entire day and lose it. But if I give it a space and a time and I say, okay, I see what you're doing. Because emotions are an indicator. They're not an indictment against you. They're an indicator that something is not resolved. They need some attention. So I feel like, what is that? Am I just missing my mom today? Then I can sit in that and go, man, if she was here, she'd just be fighting for me, you know?
Right.
I mean, like, ugh. But I give a timer for it and I'm honest before God and say, hey, I want cool. I know he's not the agent of things.
Right.
Right? So that's kind of how I get over. I think is get through is more of an accurate thing. Yeah. And I think you can be okay with having your hip out of place like Jacob. We always say, well, when you get healed, then you get stuck because you're always looking for this end place of what is healing. Oh, I'm blissful. I'm calm. Everything is just perfect. What is that? That's not realistic. And so we confuse God's presence because we say God is not in chaos. God is not in this. God is not that. So we can't have an authentic relationship with God because we actually have a human experience.
Yeah.
So we exempt him and we're afraid to go to him. When the truth is, no, it's not always peaceful with God. As a matter of fact, it seemed more chaotic to me. I mean, the whole virgin birth, the whole, hey, I'm going to divorce you, Mary. Hey, I'm stuck in a manger. Herod running after trying to kill Jesus. That don't sound peaceful to me at all. Nothing about that. The Red Sea on each side, please. That don't sound peaceful to me. Oh, if it's chaos, it's not God. Oh, I don't subscribe to some of that just cute Instagram posts that you're making.
Right. Have you and your father had a conversation about what you went through?
Yes. My dad knows my entire testimony.
How'd it go?
He cries, and he's, I understand that he was working and those kind of things. And I think for him, it's, it's always heartbreaking to hear it. But my dad is very emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord. And he is your biggest advocate and your biggest thing. I mean, I'll tell you, I did an interview with TBN many, many years ago that went viral. It went millions of views all over the place. And a lot of people that he knew came and were trying to shame him. Well, she's making it sound this way, or she's making it sound that way. And he said, she can't tell all of her testimony in 30 minutes. That's the first thing.
Right.
And he said, it's her story. And no, I wasn't there. I'm not, and I've never blamed my dad because, no, there's no blame. You can take your child to a restaurant and your child can go to the restroom and get assaulted in there. Are you to blame? No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to
You can't.
through the lens of a father.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah.
But the career he chose kept him away. It wasn't he was away because he was neglectful. It wasn't he was away because he was just absent parenting. No, he's very involved in everybody's dreams. He's very involved. So when he's present, he's super, super present. But the calling or work that he had took him away. And then my mom was on crack.
Yeah.
And that took her away.
How did you not blame? I don't have a good
blame.
I don't have a good way of asking that question because it happened so young.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand you reconciling it at some point in adulthood when you understand life.
But how did not?
How did you not ever see it? That, or am I saying more than what's true?
No, but the thing is, because it's normal, it's normal to you. You don't know no different. You don't know any different until you go somewhere else and see a different family, like a nuclear family. You don't know. You don't know it's not normal to fight over food. You don't know it's not normal to have your lights cut off. You don't know. Because you're not in other people's houses enough to know, to be exposed to, there's things different out there. Now, going to the private school brought me, like, I went to a couple of people's houses and I was like, this is a little unique here. Okay. This is possible. But what you're not exposed to, you can't have no expectation for.
Yeah. So
you don't blame it because you don't know it's different. As a child, you're just going with your parent. It becomes different when you are able to compare.
Sure.
Right? So when you start comparing now, because the pattern was already there before, you've been trained and conditioned to that pattern. It's not until you decide that you want more. And I think for me, the blame was, I hated my mom because my mom on crack was very abusive. I have scars in my body from being beaten by my mom. But my dad always stood. If I was being spanked by my mom, my dad would come in and stand in the middle.
Got it.
And check that thing.
Got it.
So for me, I had to pick one of the lesser evils. So on the one hand, he's absolutely absent. So that sucks because we're not protected. My uncle lived with us as well, but my uncle used to love the bars. No, was not an out of control drunkard kind of abusive kind of person, but was still at the bars. So we're raising ourselves. But the way that you don't blame is, one, you're conditioned. Two, you just learn to be mentally tough with it. You just have to deal with it. Because when you're being abused in many ways, you have to find a way out. And I think just for us, I don't know. I just hated my mom. I didn't even blame her. I just didn't like her.
Yeah.
So I don't even know that I blamed her. My dad, I didn't hold him responsible because I knew where he was. I think I held my mom more responsible because I didn't know where she was. She could just drop us off and be gone for 6 months. So where are you? I knew where he was. He would send us postcards from any country in the world and write us. You know what I mean? Yeah. So for that, thank God for an absent present dad. Mm-hmm.
What you just said was until I decided. How did your past transform into what we see and hear now?
I think for me, the most difficult part of my past was definitely the murder of my mom and then the sexual assaults, right? I think because I had a good dad and my brothers are good. Like, I don't have no, like my older brother that I'm age-wise closest to, because I have a younger brother I'm 10 years apart from, but my brother I'm closest to is very like my dad that way, emotionally calming, talking, just your best person. So even though I had treacherous experiences, I also had good experiences. And so I knew everybody's not like that. So I didn't get into this man-hate thing. I really didn't get into that. How it transferred to how I am today is I had to start becoming very intelligent with myself. So I know more now what triggers me. So I can't have somebody just come up behind me and hug me. I will freeze. I literally will go into freeze. My body will freeze. I will go into fright.
Yeah.
Literally. So I can't just have you randomly touch me. I am a very huggy, tough, cheap person. just as you know, we're Jamaicans, right? We're very huggy, touchy, and we're going to greet you. And, we see everybody and we kiss them on their face. Everybody. Here, oh, you want my man, you want my... Nobody wants your man. You don't even want your man. So please, whatever. And anyway, side back, coming back. So, but we're very that way. But being here has been very, very different because the culture is very different.
Yeah.
So I can't do those kind of things. Sexually, you're not very, like, you're just chasing. No, it changes people, right? So some people can become very promiscuous,
right,
and some people can become very frigid,
right?
So because of it, so you can see, I can look and see how I respond to something, how I filter something, how defensive I can be in something because I feel I'm being attacked or I have to protect myself.
Yeah.
So it's, on the one hand, I'm super, super trusting, and on the other hand, I am super, super untrusting. And your two things can be true at the same time, depending on the environment that you're in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How did you reference your father being a great example, your brothers, men in your life? You had great examples of men in your life, still do.
Absolutely.
How did all of that impact your choices in men along the way? Were you able to actually connect with?
No, let me tell you what happened with that now. My dear, let me tell you what happened with that.
Wow.
I feel like, for me, looking back, that because of the sexual traumas and stuff, I did want the acceptance then, and the approval, the applause, the praise, the welcoming of men. So what I would do is become responsible for their dreams instead of supporting them.
What does that look like?
That looks like I will defer what I'm doing to make sure yours live at the cost of mine, when my job is to support yours, not be responsible for it. So,
and still no resentment even in those instances?
Resentment, no, well, let me tell you. In those instances, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? Okay, so I would see myself being overly generous. I will break my neck, do whatever, go the extra mile. I'm supposed to be a girlfriend, I'm going to act like a wife.
Right.
Because really, and look at it, I don't want to be abandoned. Right? So two things happen with my particular thing is fear of abandonment because your parents aren't there. Right? Fear of being forgotten, fear of not being rewarded for the work that you do. So that's all in abandonment and rejection. So we have that one piece. And then we have you're used. So you get used to being used. So you find your best use in being used.
That was your value. Right.
So you downplay your gifts, you downplay your anointing, you downplay your intelligence because that's what it seems that's what they want. It seems that's what you've been conditioned. When I got into the Christian faith, that's the only thing that, well, not the only thing, but that's one thing I take issue with is the disenfranchisement of women that happen in the place of faith. So the surrender, the submission, all of these things you become very responsible for anything. If your kids are bad or people think you're bad, it's your mother. You can be a VP in the bank, and the minute your car pulls up into that garage, you better check that brilliance out and come in here and be the freak. Be surrendered, be submitted. Don't be brilliant. Take that out there. But when you come here, be soft, be this. Do you know that minority women are almost 60% earn their spouses? And then we have minority issues. We have the Black experience in America. So when people are disenfranchised, a woman now comes and has to dim that down because she has to build the man up. And so that's what I'm talking about, become responsible. I'm not responsible for your confidence. That is your job. I'm responsible to support you. I don't need to take away from your confidence.
Right.
I do not need to emasculate you. I don't need to tear you down. But I cannot be your air pump. At some point, you have to take personal responsibility for your gifts, your talents, your ability, your ingenious ideas, your relationship with God, and where you want to go. Yeah. And you have to decide that on your own. I cannot keep pouring water into a sieve because and I see that's what's happening. When I say responsible, you may have 2 glasses, and if they're both 100% full, and is it perfect? No, it's full. Then you know what? We can help. But if I have 100% in my glass and you have 60%, and I'm pouring and pouring and pouring, and you don't have the capacity to do that, then you see what I'm saying? It's always going to be you, not this and that. But if your relationship with God helps you to navigate that. So I think for you can be, what it looks like for me is overextending myself and betraying myself by not honoring the boundaries I put with myself.
How'd you come out of it?
I'm still coming out of it.
Oh, it's honest.
Mm-hmm. I'm still coming out of it because I don't know no boundaries that way. I've had to learn. I've had to ask people who are better at it. Like I would say to people, how do you say that? How do you just say no? So if I was fighting for you, Derek, I have all the words. You hear me? All the words. I can go and tell you, fight for you. But now to fight for me, don't have no words. As strong as you see me here. I'll be like, oh, okay, I don't want the conflict. I don't want the fight. I don't want the abandonment. So I will take the short end of the stick. I will take the bullying because to be abandoned is worse in my head. But that's not true. The worst kind of abandonment is when I abandon myself. But I had this false idea. And so in so doing, then I can be easily manipulated that way.
Yeah.
So I have to learn and have to ask people, how do you say that? How do you just stand up and tell them no?
Wow.
Yeah, so it's no. So that's something I'm still learning, that it is okay to not be responsible for someone else's dream. So as a life advisor, with a pastoral background, it's easy for me to go in there and take on all responsibility for your results. But I've had to learn, you are responsible for your results. I'm responsible for giving you the path. I'm responsible for supporting. I'm responsible for, hey, cheering you along the way. But I cannot be responsible for your end game.
What do you think would be different about you if you were to overcome that? Do you think that's holding anything back? As successful as you are, how much further do you think you could go?
That's the stratosphere, whatever sphere that is, the fourth heaven, sixth, seventh, wherever. As
quickly, as emphatically as you answer that, why not? What is the?
It's because I'm learning. I don't know how conditioned I am till a situation comes up. I don't know how deep buried something is until something tests it. I don't know, you know what I mean? Till you don't know the integrity of the chair until enough weight is on it. So it may be okay for me right now, but we may have 6 people sit on this chair and it breaks. I don't know that it could be stronger with a different screw until something collapses. So I'm still discovering myself because I was in a marriage for almost 30 years, and I carried a lot of that conditioning straight into that from Bible college, where I was then now being trained on what woman was like. I was, barefoot, fiery, cussing everybody out like a real Jamaican, go, so have your hand on your hand and be like, wait, no. Okay, then I became.
That's how.
Right? Yeah. Oh, become a homeschool mom. All of that. Never in my life had I thought I would have wanted to do that, right? But here we are. And I will not put that blame or responsibility on my first husband. I don't have a second one, but I'm just saying, I could say ex, but who knows? I could have an ex one.
Numbers are numbers.
Anyway, so I'm not going to put that responsibility on anybody because I was being conditioned before. But what I can say is, because you have this thing, which was talking about disenfranchisement of women in a faith space, is you can easily be controlled by, what does God want you to do? But God wants you to be this. God wants you. And because you do love God, and for me, coming from many gods to the one true God, then I really want to please this God. So that same self of not one being abandoned by God is controlling a lot of this narrative. And so I had to realize, so coming out of that and stepping back and saying, wow, hold on here. I had to relearn. Who did I abandon? Which parts of myself did I abandon that I didn't need to? That I compromised for Christian culture? Not requirement from God, but Christian preference and Christian culture. And many people teach preference over principles, and they cloud principles in preference. It is your preference I wear a skirt. It is not a principle. It is your preference for me to not be loud. It's not a principle. Well, the woman, meek and quiet spirit. You know what? You need to go culturally in there. And again, if you don't have the background I have, where we spent 6 years on the Jewish school, then again, ma'am, sir, go do it and then come back.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to really learn after actually my divorce. It was a different level of self-discovery of who I was and who God was. because he's a present time in trouble when you're in trouble. You don't know he's a present time in trouble until you're in trouble. He always with you. So I think for me, is learning who I am, and the pressures will reveal what you need and who you need to become in that space. So I don't fault myself anymore now who I was 30 minutes before this conversation, because even in here, as you're asking me questions, I'm going, I do want to go back and revisit that with God. I do want to sit down and go, God, the boundaries that I don't know I need, where I'm overextending myself unnecessary, where I'm becoming the savior in somebody's story and not giving them the chance to develop their own faith, where I am interrupting a process that you have. And so, they're dying because they can't become a butterfly because I'm touching them too much, because I'm taking the responsibility, because maybe I need to be approved. I need to be applauded. I need to be rewarded. So I need to go back now and visit that and say, hey, we need help.
Yeah. How do you, you didn't ask on camera, but I know you have children.
Yeah.
How do you parent them through the lens of your experience? And you have one of each, correct?
Yes. I have an older daughter and a younger son, 26 and 16.
Okay. Ooh.
They're miracle babies. Miracle babies.
No, I mean, mine are 22, 20, 18, 12, and 11.
Okay, you know what? Hallelujah. Glory be to God. Jesus.
Yeah, my wife, she kept doing
what? Quiver is fulleth.
But how do you, and I say this from a perspective of, I think you have, if you choose to see it as such, an advantage in how to parent them for the world we're in and the world to come as far ahead as we can imagine. Like what are you teaching your son about your experience? Not necessarily regurgitating, hey, this happened, but because you've had this experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Same for, and your daughter, she's,
with my son,
an adult.
My son is naturally kind. And
mine too.
Right?
Yeah.
And what I hated to see, and may make me tear up, is a lot of the men I'm going to cry. Oh my God, help me. A lot of the men that I have interacted with, a lot of the men I've gotten to counsel, every marriage I've counseled has never broken up. I know mine did, but every marriage I counsel, because I counsel the men. I don't counsel the women. 100% of the men that I have counseled all started out kind, but were bullied out of their kindness. Don't be a sissy. Don't be a punk. What you crying for? Don't cry like a girl. So from there, you're being conditioned to look at girls a different way, to look at them as weaker, not honor, because you don't want to be like that. So you don't even know that you're being trained with a resentment towards somebody you don't understand. And you're dismissed. If you're creative, everybody's not an athlete. If you're creative, if you love arts and photography, and music, then you're a waste. So we find a lot of men really started out very compassionate, very kind, very emotionally intelligent, very sensitive, but were so bullied out of it and so shamed for it that they were now trained to man up, but they weren't trained to be men.
Ooh.
And so for women, because we're under mothers who are disenfranchised, then you're taught, don't make no man run you. Don't let no man. So you're striving to prove that you don't need something that you absolutely need. And men are taught not enough on how to relate, how to be vulnerable, because when they have been vulnerable, they've been shamed. When they've told somebody significant, I was fondled. Oh, so what's your sexuality now? You see, we haven't given space for vulnerability. And so men now grow up and they are scared. They're more scared than they ever will tell you. They don't have the confidence you think they're supposed to have. But they have to pretend because that's what they're trained to do. And that's what you're trained to expect from them. So if they can't buy you this and they can't buy you that and they can't take you here and they can't, then you know what? I just need to live the soft life. Well, baby, for you to get to the soft life, somebody got to go through some kind of struggle to live this life that you're talking about. But we don't give them the chance. So you see teenage girls are putting pressure on 16-year-old, 17-year-old boys. Buy me a purse. It just really breaks my heart for both of our genders, right? We have been disenfranchised as women, and we are going to continue fighting on that front. But there are also men, especially, I feel, in a minority community, because there's a history that's a little bit more unique. I think there's men general, and I think there's men with cultural things. I think culture plays a very big part into the psychology and dichotomy of men and how they relate to us or how they fear us, and vice versa back. We laugh a lot of times because we don't know how to respond. And they take that laughing as mockery. So they'll never come back again and share something important. And that relationship no longer is fully open and transparent. So for my son, I'm trying to preserve the kindness. And I've said to him, you can invite somebody at any time into your dream, but you can't obligate them to participate in it. Whether it's male, female, parent, even people you expect, if they choose to not show up in that, you're still responsible for your dream. And that dream has an assignment, and that assignment is directly related to the gifts, the talents, the filters, the personality that you have. So this generosity and this kindness and this compassion, this is gold. So you're going to get hurt. You are. Because love, you can't be in love or love somebody without the ability for them to hurt you. That's the evidence that you love them, is you have the ability to be hurt by them. So this compassion, life is going to happen, and you're going to get disappointed. And yes, you're going to get rejected. At the same time, understand that what you have inside of you, if you can preserve that, you'll reach the highest self that you have in this world because you didn't compromise. You may have to govern it. You may have to manage it, but you never get rid of it because it's authentically you. So be considerate, and then the next part is stand up. Don't be like me. I tell him a lot of times you're like me. So learn from me. How do you ask for what you want, or you're going to settle for what you get? So that is our theme this year, actually. Our theme is ask for what you want or settle for what you get. And asking is the invitation. And if you hear a no there, then there's something in your ability that you can do. And if not, there's somebody else that can leverage favor or influence or power or authority to help you. And if not, there's a strategy that's coming. Just depends how far and how deep you want the dream to happen for you. But if you don't ask, you're going to have to settle for what you get. And you can't complain for what you settled. So for you, make sure that you stand up for yourself. And the way that you can do that is invite people to the process. But understand that an invitation declined doesn't mean it's an opportunity denied. You can decline my invitation doesn't mean that God has denied my opportunity. You're just not part of it. And that's okay too, because there's 6 billion people in the world. Landon, that's what I tell him. 6 people in the world, 6 billion people in the world.
8.2 now.
8.2 billion people in the world. Somebody wants to answer that invitation.
You're a very interesting person.
You think so? Thank you.
As we start to wind down, there's a question that I was asking consistently when I first started the show, because the full title of the show is Dear Son, What I Wish My Father Told Me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you wish your father told you?
Honest to God, I'll tell you what my father told me because I don't have any wishes on that. I can actually tell you the pivotal things that he has told me.
Let's hear.
When I was going through my divorce, that was a time that I was struggling back with my identity. I was arrested again with my identity. I had been a pastor for almost 20 years. I'd been an ordained minister for almost 30 years. All I had known for 3 decades was ministry and giving my life to people. And I mean, he just doesn't normally see me distressed, right? But I was on the phone with him and I said, Daddy's not fair. I said, it's just not fair. I said, I did so much work and I just don't feel rewarded for it. And he said, let me ask you a question. Do you feel that you still have purpose? I said, yes. He said, even if you can't quite make it, do you feel you still have purpose? And I said, yes. He said, then you're going to be all right. He said, the absence of purpose is the beginning of death. As long as you have purpose, you'll be fine. Another time, I said, when I first came here, and I said, Daddy, people are asking me all the time, am I white, am I black? I don't know. I said, I don't know what I am. I've never been asked this question before. I've never been asked, is that my real hair? I don't know. People are touching my hair. They're pulling, I don't know what's happening. And I said, what do I say? He said, go look in the mirror and then make a decision on what you want to want to decide. If you want to be black, be black. If you want to be white, be white. Nobody tells you who you are. You tell yourself. I said, what if I don't want to be either? He said, you can tell yourself that too. He said, nobody gets to qualify who you are because you're not the skin color. You're way beyond that. So there are things that he teaches, he says, don't curse the darkness when you can light a candle. He's like that. So every time we talk, he is very philosophical that way, if you want to call it. I can't even pronounce it because I'm Jamaican, whatever. I'm sure Jamaicans who are watching this are going to know I was a better way to say it. I couldn't say it.
What?
Philosophical. I say, how you say it? How you say it?
I'm Jamaican.
Anyway, very deep. So I would say that the things that he had told me about who I am, and is to remember who I am, and that I'm a star. He says, Sara, you're a superstar. You're a superstar. Anything. And I think that's the biggest gift. So if I was as a father or a mom, I can't speak as a father, but as a mom, I think that's the thing that I would want our sons, seeing that we're talking about sons, is to know that you are enough as is. You will not fit every single mold that they have for you, and you don't have to. Your purpose is uniquely tied to how you are, your personality.
Yeah.
And there's somebody, if you're looking for a relationship, there's somebody that will honor and respect that. You don't need to morph into that, because if you keep adjusting, your standards are always going to change.
Oof.
So I think, and the next thing is you can always come home. We say that to daughters, but I would also say it to my son. You can always come home. I know we want to kick you out in a while. At 18, you're supposed to know everything. Darling, your brain not even settling yet. You need some more years. It's not even close up till 26.
That's probably going to be a panel discussion at some point.
Yeah. You don't even have the tools at 18. We just kick you out and you just have to land on your feet. And that's okay. Am I saying that I'm thinking I'm doing the very best or the right thing? I don't know. Yeah. It's my first time being a parent of a boy, first time being a parent of a girl.
Of that boy and that girl.
And that girl. So all I can tell you, though, is I'm going to do my best.
Yeah.
And I give my children the opportunity. I ask them, where can I do better? Where do you need me to support you? Am I showing up for you in a way that you feel seen?
Yeah.
How do you, I ask those questions. I want to know.
You still need your dad?
Of course, yes. My dad is turning 80 and I absolutely need my dad. I need his voice on the back. If I call him right now on this phone and we can do a test, you'll hear how happy my dad is when I call him. And it's not just me. He's always happy. So I definitely need that. If I call him right now and you interviewed him through this phone, it would be such a gem for you. You would love him. You'd want me. You can come in and my dad can be your dad. He can be a pseudo dad for you.
I got a great one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can get a good uncle.
Yeah,
you can get a good uncle.
Got a great one.
You have a good uncle because he takes care of everybody, but yeah. I need my dad because my dad is wise. My dad is smart and my dad is going to claim me no matter what. He's never embarrassed of my embarrassment. I was sexually assaulted by a pastor when I was 30 years old.
30. Wow.
And I tell that story. And as embarrassing, as horrible as it is, my dad is not embarrassed of my embarrassment. So that's why I can cling to the God I have, because I don't have to perform for my dad. I have never heard my dad tell me he's disappointed with me, even when I ran away from home. He's going to stand there and claim me fully. My mom was like that too, but she's not here.
Imagine if you would actually pass judgment on him for his lack of physical presence due to his job.
Couldn't do it. He's too generous. If I show you a picture of my dad, his face is just happy, you know.
Yeah.
He's just a happy person. And my dad is so respected in Jamaica. He gets so many awards. He's like everybody's daddy.
I know him. Yeah.
You know him? Yeah, that's right. That's
right. That comment wasn't actually for you. That comment was for the viewer that needed to hear it that way, because we are quick to champion cutting people off because
they weren't there.
Life didn't work out the way we wanted it to work out, and miss out on the richness of the relationship you have.
But you can help that though. Yeah. Here's the thing. I know, and I'm not going to downplay, there are some times you do need to disconnect. Okay, I'm not going to say, if you're in an area and an arena and it's doing you more harm than good.
Sure.
One of the things I do advocate for is where words can't happen between verbally, write the letter and give space for the feelings that you can't communicate, because it's going to be argued back. You're going to be made to hear, I'm the parent, you do what I say, you know, don't ask me no questions. What do you mean? So long ago, forget about that. Why are you still on that? You know, you may hear all of that, so you're afraid to confront it. You want to confront it. And when you confront it that way, there's an expectation and a hope that they'll receive it, they'll apologize. They may say, I get it. But what if you don't? That's more disappointing, right? So there's all these different dynamics. So one of the things you can do is resolve in yourself. You're not doing it for the apology.
For the release.
You're doing it for the freedom. Write it all the way out, all your freedom. Because guess what? Nobody can argue with a letter because you're not there to argue with. So write it all the way out and let that person have to sit with it. Whether they visit it or not, it's not as relevant. To close that loop, we'll begin with at least addressing it and stating it. Sometimes we just move away from the circumstance, but the circumstance doesn't move away from us because we still want that acknowledgement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How can the people find you if you want to be found?
If I want to be found. So I'm saying I want to sing, but I can't.
You did a spoken word, though.
You know,
right?
I did.
Okay.
I did spoken word.
Still
okay.
Go find it now.
Go find it. Yeah. You can find me on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I am Sara, SARACO. I am Sara, CO. Or imaginemoreacademy.com, where I am, like I say, I coach and I do community and I just pastor coach. You know what I mean? I don't like the word coach as much as I like advisor, only because I like to be like in the middle of everybody's business, where I feel like a coach trains you and then they move on. Yeah. I don't want to move on. I like long-term relationships. So if you come into like my community or anything, we together forever and never to part. That's how I see it, you know, where a lot of people just recycle and just keep making more money and money. It's not like that for me. It's very pastoral.
Gotcha.
And I can only lead you to where I have gone.
Imagine that.
And I don't pretend to know the answer. So if I don't have it, I will refer you to somebody else or get somebody else to support that. I like to stick with what I'm good at and know what that is and know what I'm not good at. Clearly, the singing, I didn't stick to a lot part. You know, in my head, I'm Mariah Carey. You know, it doesn't come out as quite, but yes.
Put some auto-tune on it. We'll figure.
Can I ask you a question?
Possible.
So in the time that you have been interviewing men for Dear Son podcast.
Having conversations with men.
Mm-hmm. What do you find is a common thread, and how do they get unstuck so that they can be most present for their potential before they bring in partnership and projects that they keep signing up for versus partners? How do they become
projects?
Yes, because some men sign up for projects and they don't know. So some men are like me too. They overextend and they overdo and they do that. Yeah. So what is a common thread that you have seen? Not the only, a common one. And how will they show up first for themselves and not feel that they're just terrible men because they're showing up for themselves?
I think embarrassment is the through line for a lot of it. Not being at a place where you want to be in life. Whether you're doing the work and you're not seeing the results.
Yes.
Whether you know you're not doing the work and too embarrassed to talk about it. Embarrassment has been a big challenge for me in terms of I know this thing isn't right, but if I can do more other things that look right, maybe you'll forget about this thing that isn't right. But this thing that isn't right is destroying me and everything around me. So when you start getting validated, especially in the corporate space, that's what I talk a lot about, because that was a lot of my life, all of my married life, that became my identity. I have been in corporate since October 3rd, 2022, made it to the executive level, mergers happened, and they said, hey, we're good. And at that point, I didn't know how to introduce myself to people, because it was in the circles that I ran in, that was the thing. And it was never about people hearing my title and getting praise, but that was all I had. I had friends that were athletes that were, D1, went pro. This is my thing. When people talk about me, they can say, oh, D. Johns is that's that, right? So I adopted the praise associated with that as validation.
Yeah.
When that went away, now I don't have anywhere to actually point that positive energy, and it shifted into the things that I was seeing in my house that were frustrating. But I was frustrated because I wasn't in my house to set the tone of how they really should be.
Right.
So it's I'm still undoing, that's this whole process.
And I think you do have, one of the things I do say in my community is anxiety is energy without a plan. That when there is something you desire to do, when there's a dream that you're not even sure what it is, it's just there, something calling you into more, but you're not quite even sure what the more is, because there's no plan for it, it just runs rampant. And it holds you hostage in a way. But I've noticed also for men, where they want to be and where they are, they judge themselves so hard that I want to make $100K a year. I'm only making $2,500 a month. And man, I feel less of, because I'm supposed to be a provider and I'm supposed to be a leader and I'm supposed to be all these things.
Yeah.
And maybe you're supposed to be okay figuring it out and dedicating concentrated time. I do believe that time accelerates when you accept that. Like if you say, okay, I'm at 2,500. I want to make 10K months. Okay, so we have a gap of 7,500. So instead of focusing on the gap part and I think it stretches out the process more. I think it's going, okay, how did I make that first 25? Let me double down on it. If I double down on it, 25 more will come. How did I make that first 5? Double down on it, that 10 will come. You see? But I think that gap there, because of the narrative of you're supposed to have all the answers, we forget that men are here the first time too. Like you're doing what you're doing for the first time. Our conversation, it's our first time having this conversation. And the next one we have, it's our first time having that conversation. So we live in a lot of firsts. And I think that piece, I've noticed that part, man, messes with a man's confidence a lot, where they really dream and want to be and where they are. And if I could say anything to the sons I don't have that are older than the son I do have, it would be, if you will take, even if it's a concentrated 48 hours, and let that expectation go and look at what you have as a seed instead of the gap of where you're trying to go, you'll do better, because that gap will always move. It will always move. You'll get to that 10K and you'll want to go to 12K, and it will always move. And so godliness with contentment is great gain. It doesn't mean that you're passive. It doesn't mean that you're inactive. It means that you're purposeful and intentional. And if you don't know your purpose, I'm going to give you 4 ways to find it. Number 1, you're going to ask God. You may have been asking God and you don't hear it. You don't hear no big revelation. No worries. Number 2, we know this one. You go in the place of your passion and your excitement and your zeal, where you're pulled towards. All right. But you may not be a red hot personality. So you're thinking passion. Oh, I don't have all that excitement. All right, then go into your cool blues. Be your compassion. Where are you most compassionate? What community passion do you have? What problem can you solve? What frustrates you? Is it animals that get hurt? It doesn't matter, but there's something that pulls you and either makes you really angry or really sad. If those 3 do not work, just pick one. Make one up.
That's right.
Because the good news is this, that God loves you as his kid so much that if you're going on the wrong way, he's going to let you know. Just like you would with your kid. You would pop their hand and go, no, 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 no. So if it's not really clear, instead of waiting and being in the gap of indecision and in limbo, make a decision. You have the mind of Christ. You have the wisdom of God. You have every single thing inside of your hand to put out into the world what is in your heart. And at every single moment, he will give you more on your way than when you start. So if you will just start with what you've got and move with it, like Noah did, in Hebrews 11, he moved with fear. Having fear is not the opposite of faith. Moving with fear. Because fear can happen here and not necessarily in the seat of your reasoning in your heart. It can happen because your brain is just trying to calibrate and make logic and sense because it's designed to protect you. But in your heart, you're going up that roller coaster, aren't you? Every single time. You go on that roller coaster and you're nervous, but you're still doing it because the body responds with fear and excitement the same way. So anytime you're feeling afraid, change that narrative and say, it's excitement. I'm looking forward to what I become. I'm looking forward to what I learn. I'm looking forward to who comes in my life. I'm looking forward to it. And change that. And you'll realize that where you are is exactly where you need to be. Take what you have, the knowledge you have, the wisdom you have, double down on it and multiply. And your 2,500 will turn to 3,000. Your 3,000 will turn to 3,500. Whatever that goal is for you, that's what I would tell the men of today. If they were my sons, you're doing a good job. You're not always failing. You don't always suck. We're not always looking to beat you up. I know it feels like you're punching bag for a lot of different things. I know it feels like you cannot make it, that there's no standard that you're always going to score. I know you get frustrated and I know you'll cry. You cry when we don't see it. You have to, man up. And I am saying to you as a mom, as a older female, and I'm saying to you that you're doing way better than you could ever possibly imagine. Take personal responsibility where you can, grow where you can, and be open and share with the people that you love your SOS distress signals. Let us know when you're shutting down so we know when to shut up. And we know how to show up. But we can't if you don't tell us. If your distress signal is you get frustrated, you shut down, you say, whatever. Okay, fine, you always win. If that's a distress signal, I need to know. I need to know, and you need to know mine. So instead of us fighting each other, we can support each other. That's what I would say.
That's going to do it for this episode. We appreciate you guys. God bless you. Peace.